Hey, kids, and welcome back to Off the Wagon. I am joined by an outstanding writer and editor, Manny Grimaldi. Manny, how the hell are you, man?
I'm pretty fine today.
Well, I know, yeah, when I finally showed up, if folks wouldn't know this, but I was a little bit, not only off the wagon, but off the clock. So, you know, so yeah, man, I'm glad to have you on the show, man. Recently published yet by magazines and stuff like that. So, I mean, you do run your own, I mean, you do sit in as editor. Tell me a little about that, man. How's it, working on the other side of the fence besides being a writer, but also, working on a magazine?
I love it. I love it. I started doing it in 2021. I started writing poetry in 2019 and, made it to editing in 2021 at Workhorse in Lexington. Because I just walked up to my boss, my current boss, and I said to him, "Do you have any work for me to do?" And he said, "Well, I got this feedback program I'm doing where people get feedback for like $5 a poem. And, you just write strengths and weaknesses of the poem and like what you would want to work on if you were the writer." And, there was a queue of about like 200 plus poems. And he said, "Knock that queue out for me." And I said, "Sure." And so I did.
Jesus.
And then he said, "Well, how about you, let's talk about starting a magazine." So that's how it went. I knocked out like this huge chunk of feedback, and he said, "Let's start a feedback based magazine where we don't just hand out, rejection letters, but like if a poem's rejected, you hand out a detailed analysis of the poem that says these are the strengths and this is what I would work on if I was the poet." And you hand that back to the poet so that they don't just get, "Well, at this time, you really don't fit into our rubrics for a magazine. So, good luck next time. And don't forget us. Please send out your money if you want to join our program," and blah, blah, blah. We don't do that. We don't do that shit. Yeah. So, that means I write a lot. I'm always writing. And,
I imagine.
I'm always writing like this. I'm not going to give away the actual numbers, but rejections are the name of the game. You probably know this from being an editor, and
and a writer. So I know
and
both
a writer,
sides.
You know it from yourself when you're writing your own shit. You're like, "Oh, this sucks. You're doing it to yourself, So, I mean, and I know I'm not giving away much, but of what we really do, but that's it. Right there.
Yep.
That's the nuts and the bolts of our program. What we do for Yearling, not the Yearling, Yearling. And, we're in our fourth year now. And, we've just taken on 2 new editors. And, it's great. They're great people.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome, man. And the way you knock that out, like, Jesus, you got my respect. I'm one of the worst for, well, I mean, I get back to people fairly quick. It all kind of matters, and I don't mean it bad, but if the work is like when I read your work, it's like, if the work is top shelf, if it's really, it's excellent. I mean, yeah, I'm right away. Sometimes I am guilty for some things I read. I'm like, really? So, my respect sitting there and it is good to give people criticism, though. I'm sorry. I know people are going to get mad at that, but, just sending out a rejection alone is kind of, and then asking people, well, please send us more work. And I always hate that because then you're always going to make the same mistakes if you don't get what the magazine's really looking for. So.
Exactly.
Just my opinion,
exactly.
Man. But
you have to be specific. Yeah. I mean, and sometimes you get stuff that says something like, "I want to stir a pot of lentils with my nose, maybe flavor the beans with my toes, dip a bay leaf into the mix just so it shows, watch the smells grow and grow and grow." I mean, and they're writing like that, right? And I was lampooning that in a poem that I wrote to a friend, but the fact remains, people write like that and they think that's poetry,
Yeah.
and you have to break it to them. You don't have to do that.
No,
You don't have
dude.
to.
No, that is, you know what the funniest thing I think sometimes, poetry is a craft. You really need to fucking study it. I mean, before you even start submitting out work, just study it. Become a student. You're always learning. You're always improving. But, there's a lot of people I know, man, that they're in different forms of writing, whether they're doing, short stories or fiction. And then sometimes they think, well, man, I could do some poetry. And then it's like, you don't just, you have to know it. And that's the first thing they'll do is they'll hand you some rhyming poetry like, oh, okay. Like that, I'm glad you're still in the dark ages. But,
Well, there's nothing wrong with rhyming poetry as long as it's well done.
Yeah.
There's something about studying is something you said that's really key, and I agree with you completely, John. Somebody told me that there's three essential things to being a poet at all. It's to rest, to know how to tear apart your stuff, and to read.
Yeah.
To read and know what people are writing. You know what? I've never had the benefit of formal classes in poetry except with my mentor and Katerina Stoikova, and also I have another mentor who's never taught me a class, but I've learned so much just talking to her. It's unbelievable. Her name is Linda Bryant, and those two women have taught me everything that I know, along with a couple others, and just listening to them talk about poetry and has taught me everything. And I've never really cracked open many books, just poetry books.
Yeah.
And just reading this stuff alone will teach you so much. But you have to stop writing sometimes and like take a walk and talk to people and like do something.
Yes.
And my favorite flaw is that I'm always writing and putting out shit. I have a poet whose prodigious output is almost like incontinence, in my magazine right now. This guy writes so much it's ridiculous, is what one editor said of him. You're incontinent, and I don't want to be that guy forever. All I ever do is write. That's my problem. But formal education,
Yeah. You have to take those breaks and everything, man. But it is, it's weird because it's like, there is no like set formula, but writers are all different, man. So for you, man, like, what is your process, man? When you sit down to write, is it just, it's everyday thing, or is it you let it come to you, or, I mean?
Well, sometimes I can't help it. I get an idea, like a line, and I sit down, I write the line immediately, and then something just happens. It just comes from outer space, and it's on the paper, and in the poem, it just happens. And sometimes I have an idea that I want to write about.
Yeah.
And I start writing about the idea that I have. And it's not like the idea hit me like a line hit me and told me to write about it. It's like I have this theme that I want to write about. Like say I'm writing about geckos. So I start writing a bunch of poems about geckos. So I have to write poem A about geckos, poem B about geckos, and poem C about geckos. And that's the most laborious, boring way to do it. And sometimes I find I'm doing that. Like if I'm writing a book, well, how am I going to talk about the monster in this scene? Well, the monster's got to meet the child in this scene. Okay. So what's the child going to do? What's the monster going to do? That's boring as shit. But sometimes, and also another thing is I have this terrible process which I need to break. My mentor, Linda Bryant, tells me, Manny, why don't you just try writing what the fuck? Okay. And send it out. See what fucking gets picked up by the big fish. Get a bunch of people grabbing it and then collect all the stuff that people grabbed and see what you see in there. You see a theme in there after you've written all that stuff, maybe you got something.
Yeah.
Instead I go, I'm going to write about this. I'm going to write about, Ethel the Aardvark going quantity surveying in the San Marcon Desert. Okay. Then I decide I'm going to write about that. And then I sit down and I write about it, and I don't go anywhere with it. And my projects dry up. I'm terrible at writing books. I swear I'm horrible, John, but I can write a poem.
Yeah.
I can That's my process. Writing poems at the moment. I'm real good at it. But
Mm-hmm.
anything else, I'm just kind of falling flat on my face.
No. I mean, it's
I
difficult, man. There's no set formula. It'll drive you crazy. People don't, people don't, who don't write don't get it. I mean, it's not something you dip your toe in the water. You know, it really encases everything you do, you know, so.
I think I'm getting close though. I just wrote something called Full Faulty Burning Light, and it's about how, you know, the light shines through the nastiest things in life. How you know, I'm a drunk. I'm a unapologetically so. I'm an absolute drunk, although I don't drink anymore.
Oh, well, I
And
still do. I'm not a quitter. No, I'm joking.
not quitters never win, and a winner don't ever quit. Yep. There's no shame in that, man. But
Mm-hmm.
it's something I don't do.
Mm-hmm.
I brought my family crashing down on me with it.
Oh,
And, so I don't see my kids. And,
yeah.
you know, the deal is I wrote a book about that stuff. And, I think it's a pretty personal book, but I don't know if it's going to farm out really well. Good stuff, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Trick is with it, when you write a book, does it have a good through line? Does it have a good narrative form? Still, it's poetry. It's not a novel. You
Yeah.
know? Does anybody want to read about that stuff though, man? Honestly.
Well, man, I think you'd be surprised, man, because I mean, I'm a fan of the deep, what I call a deep cut, just the deep rights. I think people really do. I've known some writers. I've known a lot of writers. Some who just think you have to do everything in this kind of formulaic thing. It's got to be, entertaining. I used to be one of those. I was a humorist, so, but I kind of turned that corner, and I think people really do. Yeah, because everybody kind of wants to know, hey, somebody else feels that way as well. So I think that's a fantastic concept, and be a damn good book to read, man. Because there's a ton of people, they can't vocalize things, and that's what we're supposed to do, you know. Some of us do, and some of us don't,
That
But
you've actually published a piece of it.
okay, well, yeah. Why don't? Well, that's another thing, man. Why don't you, if you're comfortable, man, read something for us.
Yeah, you published a piece of it, Drinkers Only, actually, one of your magazines.
Okay.
It's called Obod. And Obod, to your listeners who may not know what it is a poem to the morning. Sunday, never enough drinks in me, not quite, and still sober when I start. Today, this is the day I wake and begin anew. My head whisked to the refrigerator by wheelbarrow, where a black Russian waits for breakfast. It's not a good idea this morning. And the avocado wall telephone rings, sawing and splitting my ears like logs. Time to hide in the barn. Someone is coming for me. The mail's not checked in weeks, and the glancing pierces. Rays through the blinds, I drop my only drink and begin to weep to face anything so uncompromising. Like when my father took me aside, sweet 17, pounding with the words I'd ruined everything. When that little girl Kay had full measure of my smothering and said goodbye. And when it dawned, my rage had the cart before the horse. I whimpered. Then driving the car in first light by a drive-through liquor store, talked to the bottles in the windows. 5 hours until noon.
That was excellent, man. Really was. And it's good to hear you read also, man. I mean, you really, yeah, it was excellent, man.
Thank you,
So,
sir.
I mean, no, man, when you go that deep and stuff, but it's just, I mean, how is it for you, man? Is it really like, I don't know. Is it a good thing? I mean, or, when you're writing and you go so damn deep, man, like, I don't know, like for me, it's just how I write. I don't think about it. that much, but does it really have an effect on you? Or, I mean, how so,
Occasionally well, there are some things I've written that go so deep that I can hardly read them without shaking while I read them.
Mm-hmm.
There are some things,
Yeah.
that I hardly ever share.
Mm.
And then there's, and then there's things that I can write like if I'm watching them from a distance because I'm all too familiar with them. Like it's nobody's business. To me, when I share about my drinking,
Mm-hmm.
I know that can help somebody. And,
Mm-hmm.
if they relate to it and they know my story and they know where it took me, that's all there is to it. And,
Yeah.
that's the only reason it doesn't bug me one bit. But,
Mm-hmm.
but, going that deep doesn't bug me. But I got another one about my drinking that, that
Yeah,
got
let's hear it.
published. It's a good
Mm-hmm.
one, actually. It got published in the Kentucky State Poetry Society magazine Pegasus. The editor
Okay.
is John Thrower. He's a friend of mine and one of the editors on Yearling. Got
Mm-hmm.
published in the spring 2024 issue. This is from a book that I'm still working on, which I entered in a contest over the summer, but I'm still working on it. It's called "I Feel Like a Drink in the Morning When I Think You're Gone," which never comes. You call eventually. This is stuff of schoolchild fantasy, but now I am beginning to love you. It's not about keeping you. The abandoned bridge, the peeling bark adorned by scarcely a flower recalled the single place I never knew, where Providence hid. After burying myself in ink that winter, glad for the divorce, taking a 2-lane highway in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, snowfall on the quivering thin, naked trees adorning a creek, I follow to Cinema Regal Manor to nod off in reclining chairs. You watch a film about imperialism and desert sunsets, and I snore. At parting, the wind a hush, and the trees cease their rustling. Not a moment noticed. Then home I walk alone at evening. Arrive, I sit down at my desk to write you, and I wonder what you would think of my eggs and sausage, made with fennel and dill. I wonder if those spices would agree with you, if my toilet bowl would repulse you, if you'd know what to do with my sprayer bidet. 2 years ago, I startled at water humming by the Ohio at Turner's Place, standing on a ramshackle tumble-down pier with my friend who spoke clarity so gently as to never disturb the great happening joyous day. He delighted in all perplexing beings, and I wanted to cry for shame. I drank within a week.
Excellent. Excellent. Right, man. Really,
Thank
really, man. It's really cool to hear you read because, you know, I don't know. It gives, it's a whole different thing. And some people are really great at reading, and then, it's an art in itself. You know, people do open like completely different beasts. And it's like, when you hear some people, excellent, man. Excellent.
Thank you. I love reading, man. I
Um,
used to be an actor.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to tell us about that. See, this is what you realize how disorganized I am. I got to apologize,
Nah.
but it's called Off the Wagon, for Christ's sake.
I
Yeah,
never told you. I told you I was a clown in my bio.
yeah, but
I,
I mean, yeah, you were an actor, huh? All right, let's hear
I was
about
an actor. I used to do Shakespeare. There's a couple people in Lexington where I work out of kind of, I'm kind of a ghost in Lexington because I'm virtual. I live in Louisville, Kentucky, but there's
it.
a couple people down in Lexington that still know me from Kentucky Shakespeare. Um, I, I did some Shakespeare down there and, I taught, uh, at Center College as a TA and acted in a lot of plays there. Acted in my first professional gig was as Mozart in
Mm-hmm.
Cumberland County Playhouse. my junior, senior summer in college.
Mm-hmm.
I did a lot of Shakespeare though. And even dramaturg Shakespeare used to take apart the verse, and edit the script for Othello. I had to basically make it intelligible and make it make perfect sense and create a world for the director so he could direct it and know what he was doing, you know?
Yeah.
For the actors, you know, he didn't know what he was looking at, and it was a senior thesis. He didn't know what he was looking at. This guy just
Oh
came
my
to
God.
help. So he's a good guy. He's a great guy, but he's like, what am I doing here? I was like, well, this is Venice.
Mm-hmm.
He's a Moor, you know. He says he's
Mm-hmm.
black. He says he's black, you know, but he's a Moor, right? Okay, so
Yeah.
you know it was a euphemism back then, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And this was the culture, and this was the religions, and this is the stuff, and da 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 da. You know, all this shit. I had to tell him all this stuff so he'd understand it.
Yeah. Kind of helps if you're going to direct if you know the source material. I mean,
But you know, I mean, I also had to tell him about Shakespeare,
mm-hmm.
the prejudices of the day, everything that was going into the production of the play back when it was produced, all this sort of stuff, all this stuff that I assumed I knew. I thought I was the smartest guy in the world back then, of course. I was whacked out like you would not imagine, dude. Okay. It's just,
Wow.
you know, I was like, I am a Shakespearean actor. I know these things. Watch me go. You know, so you know, naturally, you hear a little pride in my voice that I'm just a little rub off from back then. So just anybody here listening right now is full of shit. Okay. So, you know, I could act the roles. I actually acted the role of Iago in the damn thing, and I looked like Anton LaVey, the Black Pope. I shaved my head.
Wow, man.
It was crazy. It was some crazy shit, you know. Then I played Richard III and got fired because I clocked an actress right on the forehead by accident when I was knocking off her hat in an improv movie.
Wow,
yeah.
I thought you were gonna have one of them moments, man, where
No,
somebody
I
wasn't
didn't.
doing their shit and you went like Christian Bale on their ass.
I didn't go Christian Bale on her ass, but I hit her, and she fucking hit me so hard. She clocked me with a fucking right hook right across the fucking chin, and I was just like, what the fuck? I looked at her like, what the fuck?
Excellent.
That part. And you know, and she was right. She was right to do it. You know, in retrospect, I was just so indignant. I was like righteously indignant, like thinking, my God, how dare you do that to me? You know, and I got fired the next day, you know.
Oh my God.
Of course I was so fucking wasted every day for about 3 days in a row, you know, that they fired me, you know. I mean, seriously, what do you expect? I was lost. I was lost as a human being, you know?
Yeah.
And they did the right thing. They did the right thing. They did the right thing.
Yeah. What is it about actors, man? Actors and artists, man. It's just like, it kind of goes hand in hand if you think about like, especially theater and, you know, like John Barrymore and all these actors who were just completely sloshed, you know, yet they could they had their craft, man. You know, like, I don't know. It's kind of strange. It's almost like on autopilot. If you hear a ping, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah. Well, you know, all I got to say is like when I realized what was happening to me, I got clean. And then I got dirty. Then I got clean. Then I got dirty. Then I got clean. Then I got dirty. Basically, my story of my life has been, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
That's serious. It's a screwed up thing. Is it doesn't make any sense. You know, you think somebody wants to get as messed up as I do, wants to stay that way.
No.
But that's not the story of my life. The story of my life is like been trying to control it. And I can't.
It ain't easy. Yeah.
I can't control it. I can't control the stuff. It's got me by the balls. You see, I got rules about it, man. The second I discovered I had rules, that's when I knew I wanted out. And that's when I was a kid when I figured that one out. But, all I can say is that I'm pretty happy right now. That's all I got. That's all I got.
That's good, man. I don't know, man. So, I mean, well, hell, it must have really helped, though. I mean, you're a stage actor. It had to help with the readings. And when you do readings, because you're theatrical naturally. So it's like, it really had to be a great help. Is it?
It is. I mean, when you're doing readings, I think, and you know
Hmm.
how to make contact with people, John, and you
Hmm.
know how to use a word. There's this thing about doing a reading in this. My good friend Robert Johnson gave this to me. He's an actor and a director, and he does this wonderful thing. He says the language is like holding sugar in your hands. And if you clasp it too tightly when you're on the stage in front of a bunch of people, that sugar will melt. That's the language of the poem or the play that you're doing,
Hmm.
right? But it'll melt and it'll run down your arms and drip off your elbows. And if you hold it too loosely, like in flat palms, when you're talking to people, the wind will blow it away. But if you hold it just so with your hands cupped, not too tightly and not too loosely, and bring it to people as if you're offering it to them and sharing it with them. Words that you choose carefully, and you make eye contact and you say, here, this is for you.
Hmm.
You bring the language to them. Then it makes a difference into how your energy is and how your intention is when you deliver it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense, man. It's just, I mean, you can tell, man, just from how you read, you really engage. So that's always fascinating to me because, I mean, I've done open mics, but they weren't reading, that was more comedy and shit like that. So,
Oh man,
as you can
comedy's
tell,
all about acting.
yeah, well, I guess, but I mean, the way you do it, like, it's very impressive, man. I really am. It's great to hear you read. So hell, man, if you'd like, man, go ahead and read another.
Sure. This one's called Going Home. This is from the manuscript, Full Faulty Burning Light. This is about a relationship that I had. It's not, my ex-wife, but, but it's related. Um, Going home. I think of you late, black hair and dimples in a discotheque, inquisitive parts electric. My static crackles. Please do not let me die when you depart. I slept last night translating an airplane's shadow. Something in its way sits with me after rain, ragged clouds. And I remember your last 4 words, Messi, in Washington, transferring. As I spend the day watching a cooing bird make a nest in the space between the glass and car hood. After this, she leaves. Fresh and blue spotted eggs, her feathers a pink and gray. In flies a partner, wings at mad flutter almost slowed the considerate touchdown of iced sugar on rolls. As I take a snow scraper, bat them off, toss the nest, smash every egg because this is all mine. I cry salt tears for the mourning doves. I forget the first rule in life. Heaven is a home in a nest on the sea, and I am swimming in the same water.
Excellent, man. Excellent. Just excellent work. Man, very, very, well, I was impressed from day one, man, when you first sent me work. So I'm, I'm not shocked. You're just excellent, reader. What's some of the, man, I always like to ask people because I live in the middle of fucking nowhere. People can't fathom it. They think, well, I grew up in a small town. Try a 5 Mile island. If you grew up on a 5 Mile island, I'll be impressed. But, it's, I mean, how is it, man? What is some of the, like, I don't know, like one of the goofiest or just a weird story from an open mic you went to, man? Because it seemed like everybody has them. Where
Oh
just kind of
yeah.
like you have to like, yeah, I love hearing them. So,
Well, I'll give you one, goofy one. This was the most recent one I went to. I
mm,
read one, I'm reticent to talk about what the poem was about, if you don't mind. But I read a poem that was really hard to read, that I
mm-hmm,
wouldn't read anywhere else but 76 miles away. So I traveled really far to read this poem. And, um, I read this poem, and when I was done with this poem, first thing I said was, I'm scared shitless. The first thing I
Mm-hmm.
said.
Yeah.
And everybody broke out in like peals of laughter. They picked me first to read. They're like, we're going to have you break it in for everybody, okay? Because we need you to do it. And I was like, all right. So I'm like, all right, I'll do it. And I'm like, okay. I'm scared shitless, everybody. And they're like, no, it's okay. And then I read it, and by the time it's over, I've got the paper in my hand. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm shaking so bad from it. And then people are like, oh, honey, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. You're so brave. You're so beautiful. You're so brave. You're so beautiful. You're so brave. And I'm thinking under my breath, John, under my breath, I'm thinking, fuck you.
Exactly.
Don't tell me I'm brave. I'm feeling like shit right now.
Oh, God. Yeah.
That's not going to make me feel better. But I was like all caught up in my ego. Okay. To be fair to these sweet, kind, awesome people who are,
Mm.
who didn't mean anything by that. They were being really generous. Okay. The funny thing isn't them saying fuck you. I mean, the funny thing isn't them saying you're brave. The funny thing isn't me saying fuck you. The funny thing is my fucking ego. My ego, John.
Yeah.
My huge, interminable, large, blimp-sized ego going,
Mm.
how dare you say that about me? Because they were being so sweet, and later on, after I had my hissy fit and felt teary, about
Yeah.
my self-pity, because it was a really hard thing for me to read,
Yeah.
because I never wanted to read it, ever, as long as I lived, but I decided to, for some reason. I got over it. And it just goes to show you, you never know. You can't say never. You can't say never. That's the thing. With poetry readings and work that you write, you can't say never. You won't publish it. You can't say never. You won't read it, or never you won't share it. You can't do that, because if
No.
you say that, you're limiting yourself.
Yeah.
I think
Definitely,
that's
man. You're definitely cheating yourself. No, man. I'm sorry to cut you off, man. I'm the worst for that, but I don't ever claim to be a professional host. So.
no, you're fine. You're fine.
Mm.
We're just talking there.
Hey, man. It's a laid back environment. I just like to. I don't know. I just like to showcase writers. Contrary to popular belief, just because of my humor, I'm rough. It's like, grizzly bear can be nice, even but when it plays with you, it's still a fucking grizzly bear. So sometimes I forget when I joke with people, they get like really, it's a very sensitive era we live in now. It's like, I think people kind of, don't get, I actually love poetry. Yeah. If I didn't love it, I wouldn't spend all this time, dedicating endless hours doing, pushing writers and everything else. So, that's one thing. That's why I do. That's why I brought the show back, to be honest. I mean, I just want to showcase people. That's it. Cause, or maybe I just wanted to have a conversation. That's what it is. Like, nobody would talk to me anymore, so now I have to reach out to the poet community.
It's a good thing you do. I'm glad to be here.
Hey, man, I'm glad to have you on here. But no, man, I mean, yeah, you just incredible reader, man, and writer. But I don't know. What is it? I mean, your first open mic, man. I mean, you've done theater, so to me, it would be odd if you'd be scared shitless, but how was
Yeah,
it? Was
man,
it like,
I've been scared shitless every time I've been on stage, John.
really?
Yeah. It's,
Yeah.
there's this, I'm going to say something really corny. I'm a Rocky fan.
Hmm.
I love Rocky movies, and there's this
Hmm.
one of the worst Rocky movie quite easily is Rocky 5. Go for it.
Hmm.
And he's talking to Tommy Gunn, and
Hmm.
Tommy Gunn is scared, really scared, and he's talking to Tommy Gunn in the corner, and there's this guy across from him who's pretty freaked out, And the guy's beating Tommy Gunn silly in the first round.
Yeah.
And he's going, look, what did I tell you, man? What did I tell you about your best friend? Your best friend is Frankie Fear. Frankie Fear. He's going to be your best friend. You got to use him. You got to use him. Frankie's your friend. You know, he's telling him about Frankie Fear, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I know you're scared, and that guy over there is scared, and you're scared. So use Frankie Fear to beat him up. Let him go. Unleash him. When you see the opening, bust him up. And, you know, you got to use your nervous energy to focus. It's actually enough to help you focus. When I was on stage doing Shakespeare, I just let it all go into another person. Yeah. You know, just you focus on another person. You give them all your energy, all your attention, all the attention due to them as a partner, and you make it about them. And then all of a sudden, the energy that is nervous and fearful goes away. It's just a matter of redirecting it. That's all it is. But I started frightened every time I went out on a stage. Like, what about me? What about me? What's me? What about my lines? What if I forget my lines? Oh my God. You know, and poetry readings, at least you have a piece of paper in front of you.
Yeah, but also, man, like I have to wonder, like, okay, you go on stage and you're acting, you're playing a character. So, you know, that's completely different to some degree. But when you go up to poetry, that's you. Or maybe you are playing. I mean, it's like, okay.
I'm of the opinion that you're not really playing a character when you're in theater. You're playing you are yourself with a skeleton on. You're inhabiting a new skeleton. You're putting on a costume, but you're yourself. In fact, Stanislavski, Konstantin Stanislavski, the father of method acting, he said the person you are is 1,000 times more interesting than any character you could hope to pretend to be.
Wow. Yeah.
He said that he said that to actors. He said, don't try to pretend to be the character. Don't try to become the character. Be yourself. Look at Marlon Brando. Did he ever look any different than who he was? Hard?
No, well, I mean, yeah. Talk about method acting.
No, I mean, he was a method actor, sure, but really the truth is he just really fit the situation really well. He reacted really well. He did the actions really well, but he was always himself.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, some of those people that are so lauded for method acting really, like, look at Al Pacino. The dude hardly ever morphs from his himself.
Yeah.
You know? Or De Niro.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I love acting. I always want to be a screenwriter. So I love film. I'm absolutely a film junkie. I mean, that's what inspires, along with music, inspires most how I write and everything else. Like,
what's your favorite film?
You know, oh, don't do that.
There's got to be at least one. There's got to be at least one favorite film.
Oh man, you know, it's like okay, like I am one of those people who's obsessive about movie collecting.
Yeah,
like
me too. I got 600 movies.
Yeah, well, I'm a little bit insane. A buddy of mine, well, he used to own a video store, and when he closed out, I bought the racks. I bought the racks that he held because I didn't have enough space. And I was like, dude, I could just put them all the way down the hall and fill them up. So that's how I'm going to say how obsessive I am. But film, I just love film. I really do, man. And I try to write visually. Like when I do short stories, even poetry to a degree, because poetry, I mean, it's not, people don't get, man. It's just, for me, I do write to entertain no matter what I'm doing. Yeah, there's the deep stuff, but even with that, I'm thinking about what I'm doing. You know, I'm not, people sometimes think they know you, but you don't, you only know what I let you know. And you know that. It's just the truth, you know. It's like there you go. I'm saying fuck you to the reader. I'm going to blame it on you now. Man.
You ought to hit a conversation with my dad about art. I told my dad, sometimes we lie to tell the truth. He goes, that's why I hate art.
Ah, oh man, that's
And the lie
great.
becomes the truth. Hey, Billie
God,
Jean is not my lover.
wow, we even get singing. It's American Idol. This is great. People say, why do you go on the show? Look, you get to have a good time. You get a contact high just being around me. I drink enough for everybody. So, it's so whatever, man. I have
Dude,
a good time.
dude, John, I'm a pickle. Okay. So, I mean, I'm preserved.
So am I. People don't know I'm only 20 years old. No, I'm like, wow. Yeah, don't drink, kids. You let her match around me, I'll burst into flames.
I got enough methane in me to run a small packaging plant.
God, man. I could distill my sweat. It's so bad. I mean, I'm not saying I have a drinking problem, but yeah. It's like, there's some things that are not an act. But anyways, nothing to be proud of. I'm not trying to glorify it, but whatever. I'm definitely not anyways. But well, man, this is a stock question, but I like to ask anyways, man. What drew you to Page? What really kind of drew you to poetry in general?
Depression, major depression. I was in an apartment in the 40299 zip code of Louisville, Kentucky, J-Town, by some railroad tracks and some apartments. And I'm sitting in my little tiny kitchen right in front of the fridge at a table that I just set up there with my computer, and I wanted to type something. I wanted to make something. And then I just started remembering some Neruda that I liked. And I was reading some Neruda. Yeah, I
That's
like
incredible.
that line. Yes, he is incredible, right? At the time, I really liked him a lot. I liked how he would densely pack a few lines with so many metaphors. I really
Mhm.
liked how he did that. He brings a lot of truth to the statement that poetry is metaphor. You know,
Yeah.
and he just amazed me. And I just took something he said in one of his sonnets and started running with it and playing with it, and made my own poem out of it. And I played with it and disguised what he did, and then I had my own poem. I just took it
Yeah.
out, took out what he did, made my own poem, and I showed it to
Yeah.
my friend Carol Withrow. Carol Withrow is a teacher in Paducah. She teaches at public school there for children. She's a literacy coach there now, and I went to school with her at Center College. She's been one of my best friends in the world for 30 years. And I don't know what I'd do without her. She touched base with me when I was in the middle of separation, heading into a divorce. She said, "You know something? This is good." I said, "Are you serious?" She said, "Yes." I said, I was like, "Well, you would know." And she said, "Why don't you try this?" And I said, "Okay." And then she gave me a prompt, and I went on the prompt, and then I kept writing. And then eventually she introduced me to Deanna Mashall, who was a teacher at Morehead State University. And I started taking seminar kind of like workshop things, informal workshops with Deanna. And Deanna said, you ought to try Lexington Poetry Month, which is like an online cool thing that you should try, John. Where for the month of June, you write a poem every day as a challenge. You sign
Oh,
up in the month of May, actually.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's lexpomo.com. And
Well, that's awesome. That's cool, man. I like that. I
and
do.
that's how I got hooked up with Linda Bryant there. And then I got hooked up with
Hmm.
like Chris McCurry, my boss. And then through Chris McCurry, I got hooked up with Katerina. And this is how I've met people. And through people and being helped by people and working with people, I've learned how to write.
Hmm.
It's never been done alone. It's never been done all by myself, except just at the beginning, I was just trying something new because I had nothing.
Yeah.
I had nothing, dude. I
Yeah.
was all by myself. I was lucky to have an apartment. I was lucky to have food to eat.
Yeah.
And I was like on the verge of getting disability at the time.
Hmm.
And I just was trying to find something to hold on to. And I started writing every day, and If not every day, it's been nearly every other day. A writing practice nearly every day to every 3 days. No longer.
Mm.
I get stuck on not writing every 3 days. There's something weird with me. I'm like extremely depressed because I suffer from major depression.
Yeah. I am definitely like that as well. If I'm not creating, I am a miserable fucking person to be around. But,
Yeah.
it's not all jokes. I mean, I always say this, when people are whatever, comics or whatever, they're always, and just, well, in general, they're usually extremely depressed people. They're good at making everybody else laugh, but they're not good at, making themselves, entertaining themselves, basically, or making, themselves laugh. But
Mm-hmm.
anyways, I do think, though, I mean, sometimes, man, that darkness, though, it's amazing to me how much you can create and how much good can actually come out of that. And I think it's more people, even if they're not, I mean, you do it after a while, you should try to share it. Why not? Fuck, man. There's always somebody that's going to like what you do. I mean, it's like music. Music to me is not good or bad. Art is always subjective. You just dig it or don't dig it. Because there's always people that are going to like some outsider that doesn't make any fucking sense to us, but then it just connects with somebody. So I think everybody really should write, or at least try it, because it's therapeutic as hell. So it's like, but
Everybody
obviously,
can write and should. Everybody can write and should. Everybody should
everybody
try.
has a voice. That's the thing. Everybody has a voice. They're just not using it. Maybe and learn. That's another thing. Like you did. That's the thing, man. You're like that's a good thing to me. It's almost like being a perpetual student. That's great. And I mean, that's a real compliment. I mean that because it's like you heard other people's opinions and you take it in instead of like, some people, that's the worst. I don't know, man. I don't mean it bad, but I always say something offensive. So that's my nature.
I am a perpetual student.
Yeah. The worst writers, man, are the people that they think everything they fucking do is great. Once is a load of shit. I write tons of crap and I even publish some of it. So, yeah, it's like, yeah, no, man. But yeah, that is great, man. And hell with, man, I'd like to hear another, man, if you got it.
Yeah, got one. Mm.
Yeah.
This one's life is pain au chocolat.
Mm-hmm.
If you know what pain au chocolat looks like, it says pain au chocolat. Life is pain.
Okay.
It's French. Life is pain au chocolate.
You can tell me anything.
Life is pain. Life is pain with chocolate. That's what it really says. Okay. I'm 50. I'm 50. Feeling days shrink like microwave wrap, and I cry at the sight of young women with emotional support dogs. My daughter says her mother betrayed me. I remind her she cares for her. She's a good one. I'm 50. Wondering at why this tiny feeling for truth swallows me whole. I refused treatment today and sent a folded letter to say goodbye to you. The Tudor rose has 10 petals. One falls to signify where Doc stopped the drugs, and there begins a beautiful game of dominoes. I beg you, please fill me with real, abiding unhappiness, whether sky be blue, green by sea, or ash. Fill me with the giddiest hash. No, nothing makes joy sweeter than this, but everything everywhere tastes like you. Dark chocolate pastries like bitters when I'm alone become sentimental confections when you smile. And it scares me so, more than dying, when there's a bread shortage from your bakery. How long will I sound for your body and chime like a bell?
Fucking outstanding, man. Outstanding work. Just excellent, man. I mean, that you just, I don't know. I just dig it. I really do. Just like I said, it was like day one, man. When I saw your work, it just connected, And that's what great art does. It speaks to you right away. Outstanding.
Thank you. I do translations as well.
I mean, no, and it's just damn good writing, man. Just solid, rock solid. No, man, it's so you got into being an editor and all this, running magazines, man. How is it for you, man? Do you really enjoy it, or are there some days you're like, because I mean, you're a workhorse, man. Obviously, I mean, I like to work a little bit myself, but like, is there some days? Because I know for me, I know the answer, but some days it's just like that, just kind of like you're like, what the hell? You get some submissions, you're thinking, what in the hell are these people thinking?
Well, I'll tell you, sometimes I will read stuff and I know instantly what I'm looking at. You know, I'll read stuff and I'll go, no. And then I'll think, well, how am I going to say no? You know, I mean, exactly what is it about this that says no? And where do I begin? You know, so sometimes that's a real pickle because I don't know where to begin. I don't know exactly how to articulate it. Sometimes it's as simple as saying, this didn't speak to me. Well, how do I say that? You know, where's the strength? I mean, when you're looking at something that's, doesn't speak to you at all, not even the slightest, how do you begin to speak in strength? You know? That's a tricky thing, but there is always something you can say. It just takes time to really look at it, truly look at it. And I have to spend extra time with those. You know, I've talked to people who have varying philosophies on how much time I should be spending on it. And my philosophy, I think, is the most important one in the end. It takes the time it takes. Time takes the time takes. You know, I'm gonna sit with somebody as long as it takes to get a good answer.
Mm-hmm.
Longest I've ever sat with one poem was an hour and a half to give them feedback. Now, when I see something that's outstanding, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I know it. My only criteria is that you write me something. If you're sending something to me or my readers, that makes us forget that we're reading.
Mm-hmm.
That's all we want. We want to read something. We just go, yeah, when it's over.
Yeah.
And we don't see that.
It jumps out. Yeah, I'm sorry there, but yeah, it does jump out at you. I know you definitely know what you mean, man. You know instantly when something just, it's going to be in a magazine. You just know that's what, but it's a craft. Some people are better than the others. And it's time, dedication, practice. It's like, it's like any skill, man. You got to refine it. So, I've never stopped refining my garbage at all, so I'm very proud of that. I'm sure some editors are out there who are like, oh, wow, aren't we lucky today?
Are we lucky today? He sent us another one. Geez.
There's another one from his, there's another one for that nut.
I got one back today that I just thought was going to be a winner. I got it back from, I'm not going to mention their name. That would be really uncouth. But I got it back from them and I was just like, gee, thanks. I thought that was a real winner too. It was the one I read at that open mic that made everybody go, wow, that was really awesome. I'm like, gee, I just thought it was a winner. No, not at all. Not for them. Maybe it's him. I don't know.
Oh man, I can't imagine, man. But it's like, I don't know. It's weird because sometimes you get those. I've sent out stuff that, it's done well in other places, really well. And some stuff that people read and they fucking love it. Like when you send the book out, it was something that was rejected everywhere. Yeah, I don't get it. But sometimes I think with the deep stuff, some stuff I think, you just don't know what an editor wants. You're completely dealing with somebody you do not know eventually you do end up with a rapport with any magazine you submit to regular. But I mean, you just don't, you're kind of just throwing things out there and hope, I try to read the magazines. You always read the magazines you're going to be in. But like sometimes you think, yeah, I had a friend one time. He was like, man, this guy really wants to kind of, what was up my alley, what I was doing at the time. And I'm like, okay, sure, man, send them work. I'm like, man, I can't stand this shit. Editors are very blunt with me because they're like, okay, nutcase. So
How long
I
have you
don't
been
know.
sending out?
Huh?
How long have you been sending stuff out?
2005.
A bit.
Since I've
Okay.
been sending out publications. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was doing it way before. I mean, I was also sending out when you had to send literally through the mail. So it's been a long time. And trust me, I am very glad. I'm actually grateful that people didn't publish that shit. It was crap. I was nuts. I was one of this. I always wanted to be a writer. I've met some people, they wanted to be spaceman or whatever. I don't know why. It wasn't like they had Ernest Hemingway action figures or something, but I always wanted to be a writer. I loved words and that was just my thing. So it was like, but my God, I sent out some terrible shit. That's sometimes we have to self-edit. And, when you think you're just the greatest thing on God's green earth, that was a good one. It's like, exactly. That's about the sound most of the magazines probably make when they see this. No. Yeah, I've had some editors tell me, yeah, don't ever send us work again. That was my favorite. I do keep the rejections. I think it's
I don't. I don't keep them. I delete them, man. I delete them. I delete
they
them.
don't.
I don't look. I've been advised never to look at them. My friend
Mm-hmm.
Katerina, she wrote a book called The Poet's Guide to Publishing.
Mm-hmm.
She's got a long title after it, how to conceive, arrange, edit, publish, and market a book of poetry. And
Yeah.
she says something about keeping your rejections. She says like, don't do that. don't do that. Why do that? It's like, I used to keep them. I had them like taped on my wall.
Oh my God. Yeah. No, I mean, I didn't like, I had luck here and there. So it's like anything. If I totally had just nothing but rejection, I wouldn't have quit. I'd always be writing. I'll always be writing no matter what. And, just me. I've always been doing it. So it's people would say, I'd never kind of like torture myself if I don't write every day. Do I, by proxy I will, but like, do I keep everything I write every day? Fuck no. Sometimes it's just
Yeah.
shit, and you got to be able to. One time cows. That's the thing. Like I act like a fucking nutcase, but I really study a lot. And I was watching some kind of lecture, and this guy was talking about writer's block, and he's like, you have to allow yourself to write shit sometimes. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Okay. So I just keep on writing. I write through it. How do you deal with it, man? Cause we all get it. And some people hate talking about it because they get all paranoid. Not like I've never if you're a normal writer, you're probably not a writer.
I writer's block. I pitch it usually, or I keep it in a place called new gen or old gen, like generation or generative. Like if it's stuff that I'd rather keep, I keep it in new gen.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's old stuff or stuff that I don't want to hold on to, or stuff that's old that I did a long time ago, I keep it in old gen. And it's just there. It's there. Or like if it turns into something else, I'll make copies from there and I'll keep the original seed copy so I can see where it all came from,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I usually have the first draft somewhere. And the way I do it is I'll but I'll copy and page up, copy and page up, copy and page up. So the top copy you see is the newest. And as you scroll all the way down through all the copies of the file, the original's at the bottom.
Okay.
Kind of what I do.
Damn. Wow. That's, wow. I'm like a train wreck. I'm like,
It helps
I
a little
don't do
bit.
anything that organized. I can barely find shit, man. I'm being honest.
It helps if you keep it all in one file. So if you write a piece of shit, keep the piece of shit. And then if you find something that works off the piece of shit, copy the piece of shit to a page above the piece of shit and write and riff like you're riffing like a guitar riff off like a bass line off the piece of shit and see what you create. And then let that be your new page and see what you get. That's what I would do.
A whole lot of shit in that statement. So, all right.
riff off the piece of shit with the piece of shit that you made down below the piece of shit. Yes.
I know, man. Was Bukowski entered the room or what?
I don't know. Sound like Eddie Murphy for a second there.
Yeah. It was good though.
Or Richard Pryor for that man. You know when you're taking a shit.
Oh God, yeah, I know that bit. I got in trouble for that shit actually, because I was a little kid. I could just do impersonations and shit, and they used to have joke day in my school, and I decided to do my impersonation of one of Richard Pryor's early records, and it's got me expelled. So it's very excellent. I did very well. Yeah, but the teachers were funny because, like, they took me, I'm going to the principal's office. Oh, no, they all clamored around. Now, say what you said. Yeah, I'm not going to, they call me by my initials once I hate. But, go ahead, JP, fucking, do it again. And then they're all laughing, but I got in trouble. I'm like, well, my first open mic, I was a success. These kids are telling, really stupid jokes, and I was talking about some, let's just say things that a child shouldn't be. I've been cussing. I was like Cartman as a child. I was, from South Park, if people don't know, but it was like, I was always cussing. I was just a bad kid,
You were a normal child. You were a normal, angelic young child. The angels are always scary. People don't know what angels are.
I was happy.
The angel that walked in on Mary probably said, "Yo, bitch, you sorry." You're a child.
Yeah, wow. We're offending a lot of people. This is what I like. This is a great show to be on. We don't have any sponsors, so I don't give a shit. It's like, but hey, if anybody wants to sponsor me, Jim Beam, I would be happy to.
Imposter Monsters, corporate sponsors.
Yeah. Hey, that's okay. Hey, money, what's that? I'm an air firm.
Air firm.
That's why I decided. That's why I went into poetry. I said, I don't need money. Fuck that. I just need my poetry and to be broke. No.
Hey, anything goes.
Like, well, you're happy. Anyways. Not to go off the rails, but just like, wow, this is a great interview. I know. I try. I don't sit down with a script. I know most people take notes. I'm like, no, this is just we're just sitting around having a conversation and letting people, know the writer behind the page, So anyways, man, I love it how I just read another. If you want to read another, please do.
Let's do this again sometime. All right, man. Yeah? Oh, you should read another one. Oh, I thought you said something else. I misunderstood you. Yes, I'll read one.
That's okay. Most people.
Most people misunderstand me too. Okay, this is called Fishing with Andres Segovia's Guitar String. After reading Thomas Dempsey. Today trees change 4 times a year. Hush inducing the waft of incense by nude bramble over creek. Stone skips unaccompanied. Restless water walkers and toads, tails submerged, throat, breathe a happy house cat eyes for a feast. And today, the time we witnessed Segovia playing classical Spanish in a fugue by J.S. Bach, the 1980s. His D string snaps a string beam, crack, silent. An octopus at fervent slink up and down the neck proceeds aplomb with endeavor. Recall excited delight come, like the city wrapped in tight iron nutshells. And similar sensation to pick a left-handed partner by endless swings of the pendulum in the library with your dominant, confident right-footed steps. And heels rooted, laughing, she peeks at the star of noon. Her face reflects. Dapples dandelion smiles on you. I forget all my reasons by her side. Swirlity swish. 3 points. Ball wiggling. A fish caught in her scope without a net in the keep. Limping with a split tenor string to sing.
All right, man. Excellent as always. No, man, yeah, it is good to hear you read. It really is. It's a blast, man. I have to admit. At least I'm having a blast. But, I have things to help me. This show is sponsored by Bad Choice, Poor Life Choices.
My show is sponsored by Cowboy Killers and Monster Energy Low Carbs. They're real good. They keep me awake.
Yeah, I don't need that, man. Mine is like usually 100 proof.
100 proof? What you drinking? Wild Turkey?
Yeah, I've got some. I mean, it's kind of like
Wild Turkey's 120 proof.
Yeah, people are like, well, what kind of? It's like, yeah, I love my bourbon, man. That's why I'm like, yeah. I mean,
I'm a bourbon man.
I've been on the bourbon trail many a time. I love it. That's the kind of vacation I like to take. So that gives people an idea. It's like, wow, I'm going to go on vacation. It's just, any excuse to change venue and drink is fine with me. But I'm not trying to make it about that. It's not an act, like I try to tell people. Yeah.
It's not an act. I like to go to Kentucky. I like it there.
Yeah, I do like it there. I know, but people like, there's more to Kentucky than drinking, John. It's like, well, yeah, but I don't know. It was all right.
Honestly, the best part of Kentucky is about 45 minutes where I am, and then another 35 minutes. About 30 minutes from where I am is the Bourbon Trail, and then about 50 minutes from where I am is Keeneland. And then about 65 minutes from where I am is Lexington, and that's a killer city. And if you want to just kick it and have a nice time, it's a beautiful town. Arts, everything. Yeah. Anything you pick out is there. And Louisville, if you come here during Derby, I don't suggest it. You know why? It's a hellhole. Go to Keeneland. Wow. Go to Keeneland. It's better. Keeneland's relaxed.
It's a hellhole. You should work for the Tourist Bureau.
No, I don't work for the Tourist Bureau, and I will not endorse Louisville as a place to come during. You know what Louisvillians want to do during Derby? Most leave.
I would imagine.
We want to leave.
I imagine.
You know who arrives during Derby? Everybody else.
Mm-hmm. You just leave, and it's kind of like being in a timeshare. Hey, you all come fuck it all up, and we'll be back when you're gone.
Yeah, that's what it's like. It is. Louisville's a timeshare. Yeah, they have a big party for 2 weeks, and they just destroy it. They fuck it up. Everybody just
a timeshare with mint juleps and horses and big hats.
Yeah, and the mint julep is an affront to good drinking. I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, I hate to put it that way, but give a shit. I don't really finally give that much of a shit. But the truth is, it's disgusting. It's disgusting. Who wants to drink a glass of sugar with about a thimbleful of bourbon in it? That doesn't sound appetizing to any. That's disgusting.
Yeah. Never drank one. Everybody's always so fucking shocked because I'm such a whiskey person. They're like, haven't you had one? I'm like, no, I ain't been to the Derby either. I know what it happened. I've been through Kentucky many a time. I love Kentucky.
Dude, it's
I
a
really do.
cake. It's like drinking a cake. It's like drinking a fucking cake with mint in it and a thimble full of bourbon. That's all they are. They're disgusting.
Wow, that sounds so appetizing. Sounds like a good opportunity to get diabetes. Like,
It's no way to, and look, drinking mint juleps is no way to find your bottom, okay? No way. No way at all. No way.
Yeah. Like hitting bottom on wine coolers. It sounds a little bit weird. You know,
I found my bottom.
I was at the bottom. I had just finished my Bartles and
Zima.
James.
You remember Zima?
Oh my God, Zima sucked. Gee, what was that shit? I mean, I was like, really? You know, it's like, what the fuck was it? That was one of my things. Zima, what the fuck is it? You know? Like,
Zima.
now, do you want a shitty drink that has absolutely shitty taste and makes you wonder what the fuck you just put in your mouth? Zima.
Zima, the exceptional wine cooler.
People turn around and they're like, wow, this is literary? Like, yes, it is. This is the new literary. This is the new standard. I'm the host that doesn't even show up. So I love that. I say, I don't care. I'll tell on myself all the time. I was like, oh, I thought we were recording Thursday. No, man. That's the truth. I tell the truth to myself. I don't give a fuck. I mean, I'm like, I don't mean any disrespect. It's like, you know, I tell people, look, I've been drinking a while, you know, I was a fucking bouncer. I've been popped in the head a couple times, you know, it's like, you're lucky I know my name. I've done some damage.
I've done some damage, man. I've done some damage. I'm a Mesper fan.
And I'm hanging out with a Shakespearean trained actor. I'm like, Jesus Christ, man. This is a great show. It's like, wow, look how cultured I am. It's like, Manny, why are you hanging out with a bum in the alley? It's like, you know, like, yeah, dude, like, people have to come on my show. They're stepping down because I'm the host. And it's like, why is John the host? It's because I fucking am. But anyway, no. Well, that was a great advertisement for the Derby. So, yeah.
The horses are great though. And I'll tell you one thing. You never saw so many fine hats, really fine hats. Mm-hmm. You know, they're the only excuse to be there. The hats and what's attached to them.
I mean, I fucking watch it every year. People's like, why? It's just a Southern thing, man. I can't help it.
It's a Southern thing. Oh my God. In my old Kentucky home getting sung every damn year. Oh my God, that song. Yeah, that song's terrible. Have you ever heard all the verses to My Own Kentucky Home?
It's like I told you, you know, I remember your name, man. My memory's very short.
Manny Grimaldi. Say it with your hand. Grimaldi. And all I'm saying is, man, the verses to My Old Kentucky Home. Oh, enough's good.
I thought you were gonna burst in this song, man.
I'm not gonna burden you with the song. No, I dare not.
Hey, I love Kentucky, so I'm not gonna run Kentucky. Look, I would trade you. You could come live on Knott's Island. You'd be like, fuck, I don't care. You would live the worst place on earth. There's nothing like Knott's Island. Knott's Island is like, it's like I'm on another planet. It's where the road fucking ends. Literally. It's a goddamn island. People are like, you know, they're thinking Hawaii, shit like that. No, it's a shitty fucking swampy ass island with no fucking, you know, it's like, and I'm the weirdo who's a writer. It's like, you know, you can't get away with anything, and what are you going to do? You know, it's like, if you're a criminal, you're the worst criminal ever because, you know, who robbed the store? Oh, it was John. He's probably home, shit. I mean, it's a 5 mile island. People, would you take us on a tour of the island? Yeah, sure. There's a fucking store. There's a goddamn post office, and there's a fucking bar I can't go into. You know, that's it. You know, there's some personal issues there, but you know, so yeah, no, Kentucky's like, I went to Kentucky when I was going up to Indiana. I'd been through Kentucky a lot. Love it. And it was like an oasis. I loved it. And then went on the Bourbon Trail. And so, yes, I'll be their spokesman. Why not? So, yeah, not even from there. I'll just endorse it.
Sun sounds bright.
Okay. That's what you get when you get two Southerners, man. No, man. Your work is fucking outstanding. And you're one hell of a fucking writer and reader. And it really does impress me, man. But you impressed me from day one, man. You're one of those people that's just a really cool person. And I appreciate that because as you know, sometimes we deal with some people who don't take rejection too well. And not names, but do you have any good stories about somebody who didn't take rejection so well from as working as an editor? Maybe you do, maybe don't.
Do I what?
Do you have any good stories of somebody who didn't take rejection too well when you handed out a rejection?
No, not really. Not really. Actually, the thing is, I tend to be pretty good at handing out a shit sandwich.
Wow.
Handing out like a really nice piece of Wonder Bread with a nice meat patty, which is the rejection, and another slice of Wonder Bread underneath.
Wow.
And, you know, the Wonder Bread is all the strengths and all the compliments and all the things that I really like about the poem, the things that I think they got going for them as a poet, and the things that I like to see in them, you know, and then, you know, and then I just say, you know, what I have to say usually for when I say, like, you know, I haven't, honestly, I really try to see the best in people, honestly. I really try.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I haven't had anybody write me something nasty. I've never had anybody ever write me something nasty.
Damn it.
Never, ever have I seen it. You know, if it's in there and submittable somewhere, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it yet. You know, and it might be there someday. You know, somebody might send me something as a personal message like, well, fondue, buddy, you know, but, you know, I haven't seen it. And it wouldn't surprise me, you know, if I saw it. Because I know how I feel about my own work. But I've never felt an overriding need to write back to an editor and say, how dare you? How dare you? Do you know how long I've worked on that? My God, dude, you know, I've never ever felt like I had to do that, you know, and I don't think some people really naturally want to do that. Most people like know how important it is to have a good relationship with people they may want to send stuff to again in the future. I don't know. Call me crazy, but I think a lot of people are like that. They have this desire to be known.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The lesson is that everybody loves Manny as an editor. I don't
think that's true.
It makes me dislike you now. I did like you, but now.
No, you can like it. You can hate me all you want. I receive your hatred and I relish it. No, I'm telling you, dude. I'm just saying I've never seen it. The absence does not mean that it's not there. You know?
Oh yeah.
There's people I suspect who don't like me because they don't say anything. Right?
Yeah.
And like I just said, absence doesn't necessarily mean anything. Right? Sometimes sometimes me because I'm a paranoid, crazy drunk in my own right. Just because I'm not drinking doesn't mean I don't stay paranoid. You know, but seriously, the paranoid stuff doesn't go away from me. But I see people who don't respond to me when I ask them a question, right? And I see their lack of courtesy, and I say, "What is that stuff? What's that mean?" You know, I got people in queue who I asked questions like 6 months ago, and they haven't said anything. And so I wonder if they like me as an editor. You know, I wonder if they I wonder if they take me seriously. And it's that kind of like passive aggressive microaggression stuff that stuff messes with me. That stuff really gets under my skin. That stuff bothers me more than somebody overtly saying, well, fuck you, man. I could take fuck you a lot easier. Because, see, with you and I have always been courteous to each other. We've always been on each other's side. We've always supported each other. And I've enjoyed working with you, you know, from day one.
Yeah.
So it's been that's a relationship that I've been able to cultivate and work with when I've worked with you. But there's people I can't talk to. I can't talk to them at all. And I know you're immensely busy, man. You're immensely busy. You just run one magazine. So if you're MIA sometimes, I'm like, yeah, he's MIA for a reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I never mean anything bad by it. I do. Sometimes I feel bad because I'm not. Like, I just get burnt out. It's just the truth. And, you know, I mean, everybody's got their demons, man. And sometimes I detach and I don't mean anything by it because like, this is the thing. If I believe in your work, that's it. I'll believe in your work till the day I die. And I'll push your work till the day I die, you know, and that's just the way it is. But sometimes I am terrible, like getting back to people or I'll forget. I mean, you know. Like I said, man, I've done a lot of shit to myself, you know, but I do get it. But I will say that, yeah, you've missed out on some fun stuff. I mean, I've known some editors that, one in particular who's a lot older than me. And I like to rub that in his face, but we both had, you know, the death threats. I mean, you name it, the craziest shit that you can think of. Once it's pretty funny, but me and my co-editor at the time find that pretty hilarious. That's the interesting stuff. I like it. So it's that people think it offends me. No. When, you know, I do understand it when you're passionate about your work. I do not understand it when you're psychotic about your work. You know, it's like, just because I say no, there's a gazillion other mags out there. There's always somebody who's going to give you a yes. And it doesn't mean they should either. You know, I'm not saying anything bad, but if a magazine doesn't reject something, you know, if you don't have any kind of standards and I don't know what you're doing, you know, it can't be, you know, a magazine has to have, if you want to kind of cultivate a readership and everything, you have to kind of respect that. I treat the whiskey, to me, it's like I don't know, it's like online reading venue almost. Like, I look at it and, you know, whoever I bring in, and I don't mean it bad, but there's some people that, maybe that's not my cup of tea, but then I notice, hey, the readers like it. I pay attention to what the people want to read. And I do think that's important for editors to do when you look at your magazine. You know, if you can do that, it all matters what you're doing. If you're doing print, it's completely different. But like, print's another oh my God, drives me crazy. But, so yeah. I always try to look at what the readers like, you know. It doesn't have to be what I like, but I mean, you can always tell. I mean, and there's tons of stuff I do. Like your work, there's a lot of writers that I really, really dig. But, you know, whatever. Sorry for the tangent.
Oh, you're right. You're right. I've yet to see that kind of monster. I've yet to see that kind of monster.
I promise you, they're out. They're out there, man. You know, you're doing it better because you're giving. Another thing is really good is like even when you reject, you're giving, like you're telling them, hey, you know, you're giving advice and things like that. And some people can take that and some people can't. If you can't take it, I don't think you're much of a writer because you're going to have to get used to rejection and you're going to have to get used to criticism.
Right? That's what we tell people on the website, like right at the onset. You know, if you look at our website, like before you even sign up to get into the submittable, you know, part of what we do is feedback. Part of what we do is that when you sign up to go ahead and submit a piece, be ready. Be ready for it in case you don't get accepted. You'll get it. So that's how we do it. In fact, you know, our URL still says /feedback. We haven't changed it, you know, and, because that's the old URL for that particular page, which takes you to which eventually takes you to submittable. And that's how we do it. Strengths, what we would do different, then reiterate strengths and close the letter, and yeah, that's the old sandwich right there. And I think it works, I mean, we've gotten a lot of comments that work really well for us. What I like about having people read along in a team though, is that then you come to really interesting decisions because then you're not alone as an editor when you do it.
Yeah.
And I like that.
Yeah.
I've done it alone for a while.
Yeah, I don't know. I worked on one magazine. It was I'm not going to say what magazine it was, but it was a fucking nightmare because it was like a team of editors and these people couldn't, they couldn't order coffee together,
Couldn't
let alone
agree on anything.
And I was like, I'm out. And it was a friend of mine running it. And he's like, why are you leaving? I said, cause it's not going to work. There's got to be one, too many cooks in the kitchen. They're all bad. And some of them, I mean, like I said, I don't mind ticking people off. It's like, there's some people that call themselves editors, but copy and paste editing is not editing. Just taking something anybody sends you and putting it up. No, you got to have an opinion. You have to be able to stand by it too. You can't be wishy-washy. And, I just was out. And yeah, and then they couldn't get anything done, lo and behold. And then the guy came to me and then I did the print magazine because none of them could agree on anything. They didn't get anything done. I think it was like 3 months later. How hard is it to, they couldn't get submissions. They couldn't get, I said, well, you go out and get them then, go ask people. I know tons of writers. I always think that's weird, but it's a little bit different to do, but when I go and I always read everything I can out there. And when I see somebody I like what they're doing, I'll contact them. But most people are thrilled to be asked to submit work. And then you get some that, no, they just blow you off. I'm like, well, I mean, I know I would have loved that opportunity, but it depends on what you want to do, I guess. I don't know. To me, when the opportunity knocks, you take it. Because you never know when you're going to get a new reader, from any avenue you're in, really. And I don't know what you think about that, but that's just my opinion on it.
I think it's important to read as much as you can. Period. I've got people out on new pages right now. If I'm understanding you correctly, like, if I heard you right, like I'm trying to get like droves of people in right now.
Yeah. That's good, man. That's good. Yeah. Who are some writers, man, now in the scene that you're really digging or maybe have read with that you think people should be?
Well, readers that I've read with well, they're readers that I've read with. I don't have anybody reading with me right now. Not reading with me. But I'm reading Ford Yearling alone until Chelsea Freitzman and Andy Cook get on board. They're my readers that are coming on board. They're excellent. Chelsea's really good with just grasping a poem for it's perfection, it's beauty. She knows how to just know a poem all around, inside out. She's really good at just seeing a poem. And Andy is good at just grasping the meaning of a poem and whether or not it just hits him. Like I can show Andy a poem of mine. He's a friend of mine too, from way back, from Center. I can show him a poem of mine and I know instantly whether he thinks it's bullshit or not. You ever met a friend like that? You can like hear one of your pieces and go, the second they do that, like,
yeah,
they're on the money with it or they're not. It's that kind of thing. Where they're asking way too many questions, it's not clear.
Yeah.
It's not clear.
Yeah.
Or they go, so let me get this. You're saying this, huh? And then you know that they're interested. They're interested in the poem, and, the other thing is I like people who disagree, and, these people will disagree with each other, and, I'll disagree with them, and, we'll have lively discussions, and that's what I want.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want a bunch of people saying yes, yes, yes to every single thing together.
No,
I don't
that's
want that.
annoying as hell.
I want
That's
that. I don't want
annoying.
that. I don't want that level of annoyance going on.
No, I will say that it gets like that sometimes when, I don't know, whenever you get kind of on a roll or whatever, you see it kind of like a snowball effect where people start, I don't know, it's like a bunch of kind of damn zombies. They all, cause somebody deems that you're the it, whatever. And you see some writers that everybody kisses their ass on every fucking thing they do. And it's like pure shit. I'm sorry, but if I write something that is just fucking off the, I've read some things, man. I sent them out and I don't know what the fuck I did. And then I regret it when I see them published sometimes. That's weird, I guess. But, you can't pick, we don't dictate what somebody decides to publish and what connects with the editor. And I've had some that are like, God damn, you think, man, I wish they had told me no, because that was, you just kind of, you put it out there, you advertise it, and you just try to be quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Do you have that, do you have that thing, man, where you just kind of doubt everything you do? Are you very confident in it or what?
Oh, I had doubts.
Mm.
Yeah, at times. Yeah, sure, sure, sure. Yeah. Every once in a while. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
healthy. I think it's healthy because and then the beautiful thing about doubts is that sometimes people, I've had this experience a lot in life. I might tell somebody something, and I have great doubts about what I've said. I'm not so
Mm-hmm.
sure of what I've said. I'm sharing something with somebody, and I don't feel too secure in what I've said, or something I've read to somebody.
Yeah.
And I'll even look at them and say, I don't know what the fucking shit just came out of my mouth is. And they'll say, hey, that sounds really helpful. Well, that really hit me right between the ribs. And then somebody says, that was really nice. I liked it too. And I'm like, well, it turns out to be kind of subjective at that point for somebody else. I'm the one who took it a certain way. I'm
Mm-hmm.
the one who had the doubt. I'm the one who didn't understand what I was saying or what I chose, for the magazine or for myself, you know, you know. So, I
Yeah.
mean, that's just in general, just to talk about doubts in general, that's how I feel about them.
Mm-hmm.
They're just, to me, it's a moment, they can be a momentary blip on the radar, but sometimes they're really glaring and they're obvious and they're true. The doubt is founded and you learn from it.
Yeah.
It's a mistake you made.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, man, I mean, I don't know, man. Like I said, outstanding writer. Really dig what you're doing. Go ahead and, if you got another, man, read us another.
okay, this one's called Wild Horses. I've never put it out there. Um, so starts like this. But nobody phones today. Only the chime of bosses sounding the inter-office messaging apps on the Mac office computer, reminding to pick up memories, pick up notebooks, pens, and papers. I'm tired of writing about you. I'm tired of talking circles around you. I'm tired of the amorous love faces you make. It is every night I want to unbutton your blouse and my Levi's jeans to take a bite of your mouth without disturbing your personal affairs. Rip the bit out of your mouth, lay the saddle in the dirt, and pretend for a happy marriage for 7 whooping hours. I don't know. Will you find me acceptable? We'll write a contract over eggs Benedict. I'll cook. Then a fiery look will come over your chocolate eyes, almost angry, where you'll kick me in the teeth, saying, I see you're playing, but I am everyone you've ever had.
Excellent. Yeah, man. So Okay, it is a stock question, man, but I'll give it. I always love I announce it. I'm so nice. But what does it take for you, at least? What do you think goes into making a great poem?
An idea has to pop into my head usually. That's the first thing, and it's really obvious. I know. Um,
It
usually,
does help.
usually an obsession.
Hmm.
And an obsession is the first thing. And obsession is something that I've heard defined as that which you think about when you're not thinking of something else.
Hmm.
I've heard it defined by that by somebody, and it's a damn good definition actually. Um, I'll give credit on that one. Katerina said that.
Hmm.
It's in her book. Um, and ever since I heard that, I was like, yeah, that's funny. You know, I was once challenged to ask a bunch of people what my obsessions were. And they told me, well, you're obsessed about this, 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 this. And my friend sat there and told me what I was obsessed with. I was like, kind of
Hmm.
enlightened, actually. You know?
Hmm.
And I wrote it all down. Then I had the stuff for like an entire book.
Yeah.
Um, the other thing you need is time,
Hmm.
but you don't just say, oh, I need a year. You need to say, I need to sit down for so much time. You know, you might have
Yeah.
your work. You might have appointments. You might have visits to make. You might have shopping to do. You might have meetings to go to. You have to block the time. You might have phone calls to make. You have to block the time.
Yeah.
So you have to block the time.
Yeah. That is very important. Time is a big, huge thing. Well, I mean, I'll tell you, man, I have really dug talking to you. Any projects on the horizon you'd like to promote?
Yeah.
Anything going on? Go ahead, man.
Well, I've got three.
Hmm.
Um, Full Faulty Burning Light. I've got that out to two publishing houses. I'm trying to get it. I'm trying to get it out there. I told you about that earlier.
Hmm.
I'm working on something that is currently composting. It's an Appalachian version of Frankenstein with Mary Shelley as the mad doctor, and
Yeah.
Mary Shelley authors Frankenstein on a dare by murdering her wife, Percy Shelley, and turning her into a creature. And it centers around the idea of home and being displaced from your home,
Yeah.
and looking for home. And then the third project is centers around Mothman and Indrid Cold, the man from outer space, the smiling man, and
Hmm.
the idea again of home, and that we never really find our homes where we really come from our neighborhoods or from our blood families, but in with visitors and with strangers and with people we choose, kind of like Jane's Addiction said, we choose no kin but adopted strangers. On Ritual Dull Habitual, that album that came out in the 90s. Um,
Hmm.
so home has been a really huge thing I've been concentrating on. And those are like the three projects I've been tossing around. They're all in writing stages right now. The Mothman Indrid Cold idea is actually a science fiction novella.
Hmm. I'm a big fan of novellas. That's just because, number one, I've been working on one for, it seems like, half my life, but that's okay.
I know nothing about them. I write them like a poem.
Yeah. I, we're all, we're all throwing stuff against the wall, man, and see what sticks. And you're a hell of a writer. You'll get it, man. You know, that's
Thank
just
you.
my opinion, but I mean, whatever that one's worth. But no, man, it's been great. I have really enjoyed hearing you read. I've really enjoyed having you on the show. And if you'd like to go ahead and read us one more, and then I think we'll call it a night after that.
Well, would it be okay, you think, with Skaya if I read something that's going to publish in her magazine? She chose it.
I'm pretty sure she would be. Of course, she needs to be mentioned on the show. Is she the host
Skaya,
of the show? I think not.
she's the host of, she's the host of, Disturb the Universe magazine.
Yes.
And she chose this piece to be published in her magazine, Skaya Evans. And I thank her publicly for that.
She's going to be happy you got her name right. Everybody gets it wrong. So I'd like to mention
I know how
really
to say it.
Yeah, I really.
Is that going to give me brownie points with her?
Probably. Anybody who, she's great. I'm sorry, man. Go ahead.
This one's called Riding Shotgun with the Mothman. It was inspired by Robert Wood Lynn.
Okay.
The problem with riding shotgun is the thought you're driving, and then thoughts sinking. Soon it is better blinded, ears hollowed out. And did I tell you my bird Frankie died last night? He stiffened by the water trough, every claw angled up, and I knew there were no guarantees when we started. Today, there is the feeling. Whatever I've gotten close to has turned up dead inside, far from me, and all I've ever wanted was to direct traffic. From where I hang in the trees above the jungle, I can see the beaches and the cruise ships unloading on the docks, and the thoughts, maybe every turn and how they will breathe. Tonight, a building on 67th Street. The climb is sleek mirrored. People grow smaller beneath, and I step out the window. The earth is covered in flies.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Excellent, man. I have thoroughly enjoyed it, Manny. I really have, and I appreciate you being a guest. I hope somehow I can, and I'll show up on time, but I hope I can talk you into coming back on the show sometime, because I think, you got a lot to say, and you got a hell of a voice, man. You really do. So thank you so much for being off the wagon, and thank you everybody for listening and putting up with this crazy host. But Manny, thank you, man, for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome, John. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
All right.